Rise of the Acolytes, a short story by the philosopher Jones. In a time before cars, men rode horses to get from one place to another. Our story takes place in such a time as this. There were 4 sages on 4 horses riding toward each other at galloping speeds. One from the north and one from the south, one from the east and one from the west. Riding on either side of each sage were 2 acolytes who were also on horses. Each acolyte was followed by pack horses that carried tents and cooking utensils. All in all, there were a total of 20 horses when the sages met beneath the great tree. The sages sat around a campfire and argued about first one thing, then another. The acolytes sat quietly and took notes. Nothing was resolved because each sage claimed that their great book was the one true book and held the sum total of all human knowledge. All other great books that disagreed with theirs was wrong. Each sage believed that everything worth knowing was written in the pages of their great books. Then one by one the sages turned to their acolytes and asked for their opinion. Each acolyte agreed with their own sage. After all, the acolytes only knew what their sages had taught them. But there was one acolyte who came up with a way to figure out who was right about one of the things they disagreed on. You see, the sages had argued for hours as to the number of teeth in a horse's mouth. One sage said that there were 36, another said 38, and another 40, and one even said 44. The men had gotten these numbers from their great books. Their books were sacred and therefore correct. But there was one among the acolytes who was not moved by that. Instead, he had what he thought was a simple solution. You see, they had 20 horses. Each sage had a horse, and there were 4 sages. Each acolyte had a horse, and there were 8 acolytes. Each acolyte led a pack horse, and there were 8 pack horses. 8, 8, and 4 equals 20. They had 20 horses. They could simply open the horses' mouths and count their teeth. The next morning, as the 20 horses rode away, one had an empty saddle. For the acolyte who had spoken up was now buried beneath the great tree. What was his crime? He had suggested that great mysteries of the universe could be solved by opening a horse's mouth and counting its teeth. 30 years later, a new group of sages gather beneath the great tree. 30 years ago, they were the acolytes. But on that day, they were the sages. And on that day, they were there to edit their great books. They had figured out that their books did not contain all the knowledge of the world. Their books were ancient and contained the regional knowledge of a people who lived long ago. It was time for an update. To start with, they had 20 horses. They ordered their acolytes to open the horses' mouths and start counting teeth. The best way to learn about nature is to study nature. The best way to learn about the Creator is to study His creations.